And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus on this Tuesday, October 21st. We're getting closer and closer to Halloween, and it's feeling like it today. I'm Chief Meteorologist Wysocki, along with our Ag Director, Bridgette Readel. Bridgette, temperatures in the 40s, winds gusting up to 40. It feels like it's in the 30s out there with scattered sprinkles. Yuck is the best way to describe this.
I mean, it's happening, right? We've got folks that have not combined in a while. I got a lot of pictures of stuck combines last night.
Because too wet?
Too wet. Yep, so it's happening. Currently, I feel like I don't know. Is everybody okay around here? Is this broken tooth thing catchy? Because both of you have swollen cheeks, swollen faces. I'm the only one with all my teeth.
Right.
I mean, what is it, a
Brag
meth?
about it, why don't you?
Oh, Addison. Holy cow, dude. You don't sound good. I'm sorry,
I
buddy.
know you said it hurts.
Surviving.
I will bring you
Yeah.
soup later.
Yeah, I just had mine pulled yesterday, and Addison's got problems with his. Yeah, let's hope this isn't catchy.
I need a tool company to come on over with some pliers. There's some work to be done around here.
I used to have bragging rights that my wisdom teeth were perfect, and I never had any issues with them. And then on Sunday, my wisdom teeth disintegrated in the back of my mouth for no reason.
Oh my God.
Ouch, man. Oh, buddy.
It's been quite a day.
Does anyone
Yes.
have any spare super glue? I still have the fragments of it. lying
If you
around.
do, I mean, we could get you some medical grade super glue and
Some
just put that baby
epoxy
back
or
together.
something.
You know,
This work.
I always thought I was going to be a nurse. So maybe now I can just think I'm a dentist too. I'll take care of this.
It'll work. She'll take anything.
She's got pliers and a screwdriver in her,
I
in her
actually
truck.
do.
She'll take
I-
care.
I actually
she'll
do.
take care of it for you.
This will only hurt for a little while.
Yeah. The famous last words. Oh, man. Well, I'll tell you, we've got some pretty chilly weather. In fact, some of the coldest weather of the season. It looks like coming in overnight tonight. But for the rest of the day, we're looking at a lot of clouds. Still a few sprinkles on radar. That's going to push eastward into Lakes Country. And we'll actually see slow clearing from west to east as we head towards evening. But other than that, mainly cloudy skies and temps hanging in the 40s with those winds gusting up to 40. And then tonight we'll clear things out. Winds will go lighter and we'll drop down to a low in the upper 20s to near 30. So kind of a chilly night. Do we get a widespread frost? It depends if those winds go light enough. If we do, then yes, we will. And then as we head into Wednesday, still chilly, but not as windy, thank goodness. Upper 40s to right around 50 for your Wednesday with northwest winds 10 to 15. And then the rest of the week looks nice. Improving conditions, low to mid 50s on Thursday with plenty of sun, right around 60 or so on Friday. And then we're back into the 60s for the upcoming weekend. That's back-to-back nice weekends. I do think Saturday will be the pick day. As Sunday, we'll see more wind really ramp up out of the south and an increase in clouds late, and that'll lead to rain on Monday. Now, we are looking at a big pattern change coming into the area by late next week. That's going to mean colder, well, let's say cooler weather. I don't want to say colder weather, but definitely cooler weather and frequent storms, it looks like, traversing the northern plains. I do believe that some areas will see their first snowfall right around that Halloween period. I'm not looking at measurable snow, but flakes of snow, and just a sign that, hey, you know what? It's coming. It's coming. But I do see a big pattern change late next week, kind of putting a squash to these, except for today and tomorrow, these above normal temperatures that we've had for the first couple of weeks here in October.
It has been good. That was useful in a lot of ways to get people rolling through harvest. Now, certainly we've had some combine fires, et cetera. I mean, no good deed goes unpunished, you might say. But we're doing the best we can with what we've got. And because we do not currently have USDA operating at full strength, right, with the government shutdown, we are not seeing our regular reports of harvested acres. We can guesstimate where we're at for harvested acres. And I think a lot of the soybeans are off. We're making great progress through corn. As statewide, we're probably at a 40% corn. And I say that because we have some certain areas that have been so wet, they haven't been able to do any harvest. It's coming along.
And now the cold weather won't matter. We don't need any more precip for areas out to our west where they've been basically waterlogged, unfortunately.
Yeah, we don't need more precip. And what's interesting is you have some farmers that have said, I can't get back in the field until it freezes. There are some fields that are so wet
Oof.
They need the ground to freeze in order to traverse.
And a solid freeze, not
Yeah.
temperatures right around 30. That's not going to help.
Nope. Now, for folks that operate towing systems, so if you need to be able to pull out grain carts and tractors and combines, et cetera, they're going to have a fairly busy next few weeks as we try to get more work done.
And hopefully, like I said, unfortunately, with the big pattern change, we're going to get numerous chances of precip around here. Let's hope none of those is a big storm that's gonna hurt our ag community. And right now, I don't see it. One of our models is trying to produce a bigger storm to our east, which would affect areas of Minnesota and Iowa, but not for our areas. So again, that's over a week away, and a lot of things change between now and then, but we are getting strong signals of a big pattern change. So usually when that happens, a lot of times there is one big storm that will start to change that pattern. So that's what we're kind of keeping our eye on for the potential of that sometime over the next week to 10 days.
So I had a memory pop up, like you get your Facebook memories or your Snapchat memories, and it said October 20th, and the picture was, I had just come back in from walking, and I was completely covered in snow. And I want to say that was
2019?
No, I think it was 22.
Was it 2022?
It might have been 22.
Okay, I had something like that pop up on mine today too, or yesterday or today. Yeah.
So really big storms in October.
Yeah.
And when it does, okay, so winter brings back the smell of wet coveralls, kids' boots and gloves that are just dripping wet. Well, sometimes you need to get those things washed and dried out. Well, you can do that by going to Coral Laundromat. They are our studio sponsor. They're over on Veterans Boulevard, and they have the commercial size washers and dryers. So for all those moms who are having to shove all the coveralls and the snow pants and everything else in the world in that washing machine, you could just take it over to their washing machines at Coral Laundromat and get that cleaned up, because let's face it, farming is dirty. And also, let's not forget that if you are wanting to send us any emails today, you can do that. You can reach us ag@flagfamily.com or weather@flagfamily.com. And we are also live streaming today on Acres TV. In fact, yesterday, our guest, Michelle Martin, she is Ag on Wheels on Acres TV. So if you want to see more of the things that Michelle does, you can catch her and us there on Acres, as well as Facebook and YouTube.
And we've got a big ag show coming up here in early November.
We do. This will be November 5th. This is the WDAY Radio Farm Show. We haven't done one before. Often you go to a farm show, you walk around, you stroll the booth to booth.
Right.
This time it's coming to you. You don't have to go anywhere. You can still be in the truck delivering corn to the elevator or the ethanol plant. You might be working in the house, working in the shop. Some guys will still be out spreading fertilizer. And so now is an opportunity for you to listen all day from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. I've broken the hours down into themes, if you will. So like there's an agronomy hour, there's an equipment hour, there's one on livestock. So we'll have an opportunity to talk about a number of things. And that, again, you can tune in. You can also watch. We'll be live streaming it on Facebook, YouTube, and Acres TV that day for the whole day. Additionally, I'm going to ask folks if they want to participate. I mean, you can always call and ask questions that day. But I don't know if you're familiar with these, but as a kid growing up, at one point in time, there'd be a car that stopped in your yard that had pictures of your farm that had been taken by an airplane. They'd flown over, done an aerial photo of your farm, and then they would sell them back to you. And they were often in very cool frames.
Interesting.
So this was in the days prior to drones,
Right.
et cetera. And I have, through the years, I bet we have probably 15 different aerial shots of our farm. And then how did it evolve, right? From Grandma and Grandpa's house and the old hip roof barn, that's gone, to when my parents built a new house, to a dairy barn addition, to all these things. And so I'm going to ask folks, send in your pictures. We want to show those on our live stream of all your farm photos.
That'd be cool.
So let's get a review of some of those family farms coming in. You can email those to me, ag@flagfamily.com.
Nice.
Yeah, and you probably haven't ever seen those. But
No.
when we did our farm centennial in 2013, we literally had them all hanging up so you could watch the transition from year to year of what had changed in the farm. And you didn't buy them every year because they were considered expensive. I honestly couldn't even tell you what my parents paid for one of them. They probably paid like $75 or $100 for this framed print. And at that point in time, that was a lot of money. And many of us still have them hanging in our homes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How much changes from year to year? I mean, obviously different crops.
Different seasons. You could tell, like, oh, look, Grandma was here that day. There's her car.
Yeah.
But actually, there were years that quite a bit changed. You know, if you put up a new bin or a new building of some sort.
Okay.
So it was pretty neat that when the aerial photography guys came by, and you never knew when.
Right.
You know, you might get an indication if you saw a plane flying low overhead, but you didn't know when they were going to come back to you with the developed photo.
That's cool.
So, yeah, send those in to me. Again, ag@flagfamily.com. I'll get those ready for the WDAY Farm Show on Wednesday, November the 5th. We will return with our guest today. We're going to talk with Amber Wood. She is with the North Dakota Livestock Alliance. I had one of our morning hosts this morning say, "What's the Livestock Alliance?" I think Amber should answer that. So we'll do that when we return. October is Cybersecurity Month. So if you are not clear on whether or not you need an improvement in your cybersecurity, I would go to techsupportfarm.com. I would check out their fence check assessment because that will tell you what do you need, what's doing well for you. And remember, cyber insurance might not be the thing because it's pretty limited factor on what it does or doesn't do. Chris Sherman will take care of you. In fact, I've actually got Chris coming out to my house this week because we're going to do some cybersecurity stuff. I feel like it might be a good idea. So I'll give you the post view of what that looks like after Chris stops by. We are joined today by our guest, that is Amber Wood. She is with the North Dakota Livestock Alliance. So Amber, I had a co-host this morning ask, what's the Livestock Alliance? And I said, I think Amber should answer that question. So let's start there.
Well, that's an awesome question. And thank you for having me today. I'm very excited to be on your show for the first time. So to give you a little background on who the North Dakota Livestock Alliance is, we just started in 2017, so we're a fairly new organization, but we are a heck of an exciting team that's out there doing some really great things. So we are a nonprofit organization that is made up of agricultural organizations that are all working together to see more livestock on feed in the state of North Dakota. And obviously this year with the extreme financial challenges and the things that are really hitting our crop producers, especially very hard this year, it's just emphasizes how important North Dakota Livestock Alliance's mission is to get more animal egg out there so that we can have that manure readily available to our crop producers. So I'm very excited to be doing my job.
And Amber, I'm sure you guys are a big help now, especially I'm guessing that the tariffs that are in place are hurting our ag community, especially with soybeans and whatnot. You guys are helping out in that aspect as well?
So we're helping in a few different ways. So, the one way is, I know this is going to make Bridgette laugh because whenever she hears me speaking, I always got to talk about manure. So, you're officially an adult when you can talk about poo all day.
Yeah.
So
Hey, Amber, I actually got a mutual friend of ours on air one day to talk about insemination in cattle, and he also thought he'd never say that. So we're doing good things.
we are such grown-ups. So obviously, talking about the value of manure to the soils here in North Dakota it's not only a financial point that we're talking about. Like, for example, one of our finishing swine operations actually sent me some information about, I asked him what the value of his manure was going to be that year for 26, and $245,000 just from one of his 5,000 head swine finishing barns. That is the value when compared to commercial cost of fertilizer. That's how much that one barn is going to bring to his operation. So not only the nutrient side, but then you're also getting moisture, you're also getting the organic matter so that you have that cohesiveness in your soil. So you have better water holding, water retention capacities. It's just, I always jokingly say this, number 2 is number 1 when it comes to soil health. It cannot be beat. It is the best thing for the soil. And you talk about natural, you talk about, what the soil has been seeing since humanity's been around. Manure is the oldest, most natural fertilizer, right?
That's some expensive. Never mind.
Right. Yeah, you can't say that. But I like when Amber said, about the number 1, the number 2. The only other time I've seen that is a porta potty company that said we're your number 1 for number 2. So, but this is way better because, okay, so Amber, let's talk just a little bit more about manure because why wouldn't we? And really, as a fertilizer, when you think of what's happening right now in the volatility of the markets, right? We don't have a good trading partner in Russia, so we're not seeing nitrogen come in. We were worried about tariffs on potash coming out of Canada. A lot of things are up in the air. So realistically, what you're talking about, bringing more animals into the state, helps us overall in every system. It's not just you're focusing on livestock. You're really focusing on agriculture across the board.
Oh, absolutely, yes. We always talk about getting farmers the opportunity to have more control over their situation, and having access to manure in the area is one way that they are able to better control their on-farm costs, right? And not only costs, but availability. How many times have we been through urea shortages and all those different things throughout the years? And, it just shows that animal agriculture and crop agriculture need each other. not to quote, I'm just going to call him out. He'll love it. Scott German from down by
Oh,
Oaks.
yeah, down by
He,
Oaks.
yeah, he did a video once talking about how through the years and the generations of his operation, sometimes the pigs carried the operation in low crop years and vice versa. Sometimes the crops would carry the operation when the pig numbers were low, right? So
Hmm.
having that ability to have two different incomes is so incredibly important. So that's what really keeps me going in my job. And my organization, I always call them my powerhouse, because that is a very passionate group of people who want to see animal aid be successful here in the state of North Dakota. And not to mention, just on the manure side, but also, the feed side. I mean, look at how much soybean meal we're cranking out in this state. And we got to send it out on the hoof instead of, right? Or in addition to. So it's a way that we can feed more products to our animals. And then again, another way for farmers to have more control over their world.
And that's going to be a big point of topic we want to talk about after our news break here, Amber. But also, before we step away from manure, something to also I think that folks should understand is this does not mean that we are just going to be spreading liquid manure willy nilly, right? Farmers at this point, we can take manure out of a feedlot, we can spread it dry. But, Minnesota has more management plans, like you can't spread on frozen ground, et cetera. So it's not like folks are just going to start doing whatever they want. There are actually rules and so forth that goes with it. And we can follow those and we can do a really good job because we're going to be responsible agriculturalists in this state. So I hope
Thank
that's
you
a
so
good
much for
point.
bringing that up, Bridget. I always, it's good to emphasize that part because, we in Animal Ag are so used to the regulatory aspect.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up. That's good that we can discuss really how intensely animal agriculture is regulated. And here in the state of North Dakota, same as Minnesota, we cannot apply manure to liquid manure to frozen, snow covered, or water saturated ground. So similar rules there. And one thing I do want to back up the tremendous amount of regulation that is not only on, how much manure storage we have to have, it's actually what what materials,
Yes.
where it is, where the water is. I mean, it's such, to give you an idea, the last time we finished a hog permit process, it was over 500 pages by the time it was done. I mean, we're talking a stack of paper, and there's a lot of engineers involved, both
Yes.
at the state level and at the private industry level. So we are intensely regulated, and the state's regulations are all compliant with the EPA.
Those are excellent points. Okay. We're going to come back. We need to catch up with the news. When we do, we'll continue our discussion with Amber Wood, North Dakota Livestock Alliance. Today's going to be a fun day to learn. We'll be right back. if you're out combining and you realize you need a little bit more fuel, don't forget to give a call over to Codeco Fuels and Propane. Those folks can make sure to get you all lined up, whether you just need to fill a bulk tank, whether you need a whole transport. Maybe you want to think about bulk oils for the winter months as you're doing more work in the shop. They definitely want to come over and take care of that business with you, and that's Codeco Fuels and Propane. And then also Ellingson Company. You know, we're getting to the point where the ground's going to freeze. We're going to do a little less work outside. But remember Ellingson and all the things that they can do with and for you. It's not just about drain tile, but really they can get water moving at the right rate. And we could probably see some of that going this year or this fall anyway with some of the areas that have gotten hit with higher moisture than others. So give those folks a little jingle over there at Ellingson Companies as well. We are joined today with our guest, Amber Wood. Amber is with the North Dakota Livestock Alliance. We've been talking about animal agriculture in North Dakota and feedstuffs. I think when people come in from out of state, Amber, they're amazed at what we produce here that can be considered feedstock for our production, our animal production in North Dakota. Have you come across that as well when you talk to folks from out of state and some of the statistics you're able to give them, perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our feedstuffs here in the state of North Dakota, we have such a diversity and we have such an amount. I mean, the way that we can effectively and cost efficiently feed animals up here is tremendous. I mean, a few examples are just, the canola meal from all the different canola crush plants and the pasta plants in, Carrington and other areas. You can feed the misshapen pastas, anything like that, anything left over, and including all the way through to sugar beet tailings, and we already talked about soybean meal left over after the extraction of the oil. It's just tremendous the things that animals can do to better humanity. And as you know, I am a hardcore dairy cow dork, and so I always talk in awe about dairy cattle's bodies and the incredible things that they can do. They can take all these other things that without dairy cows or without pigs around, what would happen to all these co-products and byproducts?
Yeah,
They'd end up in the landfill, right? Or
right.
they'd end up being field applied, something like that. So these animals are able to use their incredible bodies to not only create meat for us, but also milk and how many other products that result from animal agriculture as well. So I'm just always in awe of the dairy cow's body, that she's able to do all these great things for us just from all these what humanity would deem waste,
Well,
that humanity would deem something they have to get rid of, right?
you had a great point right there, and that is when it comes to all of this food stock for animals, feedstuffs, right? If we were just leaving piles of beet pulp out rotting, if we were not using the DDGs from corn after the ethanol process, et cetera, it would sit in landfills. It would just rot away. Well, haven't we all been coached in the last 10 years about how important it is to reduce greenhouse gas? Well, you have an awful lot of loss of carbon, et cetera, into the atmosphere if you just let that stuff sit and rot. So animals are the best digesters. They're taking that stuff in. They're creating products that we want, whether it's milk, beef. Let's face it, I like lamb. A good lamb chop is never a bad thing. So
Atta girl.
they're doing things that are the best for us, and they have been better at recycling than we will ever be, to be honest.
Truth.
Now,
Hmm.
when we talked about a little bit earlier about regulation, many people would say, well, it's North Dakota. You guys don't really do a great job of anything. Actually, I would argue that. I think, Amber, you're probably very familiar with the fact that North Dakota, when it comes to livestock production, we're probably tighter in our regulation than most of our surrounding states.
Well, and I would never, rip on another state by
Oh,
any
no,
means,
no,
but
that's true. That's a good point.
but I actually used to manage cows in South Dakota, so I've been on the receiving end of regulation in two different states. But again, every state has to comply with EPA, with the feds, with the Clean Air and Clean Water Act.
Sure.
But, the state of North Dakota, we are very blessed in that, not only are we looking from the regulatory standpoint, something that I really love about being up here in this state is the way producers help take care of each other. It's we look at, the regulatory, the big names and initials that are at the state and federal levels, but then there's also within the industry that we keep an eye on each other and make sure that we are also holding each other to standards that that we want to see our industry as a whole maintain. So things all the way from, beef quality assurance through pork quality assurance and farm, which is the dairy quality program.
Hmm.
They're looking at animal well-being, they're looking at environmental impacts, they're looking at the whole gamut of things. So, we look at the substantial amount of state and federal regulation all the way down to there's also industry and keeping an eye on each other. So when I say we are heavily regulated, we absolutely are. And I actually appreciate that about this industry is because I can be proud of what we're doing because we are keeping each other accountable.
When we have been talking about the Livestock Alliance, I think naturally, or at least for me, the first thing I think about are cattle, whether beef or dairy. But you're representing all species. It's not just thinking about our taller four-legged friends, right?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And so my background is in dairy herd management. So it's been very fun learning the swine industry. And thank you to any of my pig friends out there in the world that are listening to this. They've been incredible teachers taking me under their wing and showing me the industry. Because here in North Dakota, we have such a tremendous opportunity in the swine business
Hmm.
because the integrator system allows for somebody to get into the hog business without having to own the barn, own the pigs, own all the equipment, all the money it takes to start up a new livestock operation. With the swine business, they are able to form partnerships with North Dakota landowners, with North Dakota youth in order to get them into the hog industry and get established, right? So it's such a tremendous opportunity. And I know one thing that probably the number one question I get is, well, we don't want North Dakota to have the density issues like Minnesota and Iowa are having.
Hmm.
And I admire Minnesota and Iowa. I mean, look at their basis, but we do have a unique opportunity here in North Dakota to have respectful distances between swine operations to ensure that those animals remain healthy and isolated. So, we have this tremendous opportunity up here to responsibly get into animal agriculture, and pigs are a huge asset to that.
That's a great point. I just wrote down biosecurity because I wanted to talk
Yeah.
about that. And frankly, that's one thing that North Dakota has in its favor. We're the eighth largest producer of beef in the U.S. Our herds are very spread out, and a lot of them are certainly concentrated further west. Bringing animal agriculture, at least into the eastern half of the state, where we can do that with some of these operations, we're so much closer to the feed stuff. Our ethanol, our soybean crush, canola crush, sugar beet processing, all of that type of thing. And you're right, just the ability to feed those critters. They like a varied diet. As someone with a background in dairy management, I'm going to guess you've spent some time talking about nutrition. They don't mind some fun things instead of just eating corn and alfalfa.
Yeah, that is very true. As long as you don't surprise them too much. But yeah, they love a little bit of variety, a little bit of spice of life. Yeah, I mean, a couple of really fun stories, Bridgette, is like in other states like Pennsylvania where they have candy manufacturing, remnants that are left over from candy manufacturing
Yes.
can be utilized in dairy rations throughout the state. So their nutritionists are very talented.
Because I've even understood that if you're close to a bakery, like large factory, commercial bakeries, your cows like cookies. They have their own. They have their own cookies and milk
Who
system.
doesn't, right?
They eat the cookie, they give you milk.
Right.
It's a pre-dipped Oreo.
Nice.
All right, sorry, off track right there.
Oh, that was perfect.
And so, really, I think we got to go back to the fact that all of our livestock are great recyclers. And seeing hogs in North Dakota would be kind of fun. We have Cloverdale, which is one of our bigger processing facilities for pork. And we don't raise enough pork to sustain Cloverdale's output in this state. Would that be? I'm not sure if you know that answer, but I'm just going to take a guess at it, Amber.
Well, I'm not quite sure how to word that in,
Okay.
it's a matter of number and a matter of consistency in animals as well. So yeah, when we
True.
had the gap of, what really changed that relationship was the big flood in Minot in 2011
Hmm.
took out their harvesting operation up there. So
Yeah.
that was the big game changer there. But as North Dakota gets established with more swine facilities, really sows are going to be our biggest opportunity, for the biosecurity setbacks and all that good stuff, keeping those pigs healthy and happy. Finishing is going to continue to expand in that direct southeast corner. And the reason that's staying in that area is because of distance to processing. And Smithfield is our nearest harvesting floor.
Okay, absolutely. Amber, Thank you. Now I could really go for a ham sandwich. I appreciate the ability to talk about livestock today, and you're such a great resource for the state, not just for our livestock producers, but also you're on the side of folks for corn, soybean, other commodity crops as well. So thank you for that.
Hey, thank you so much. And if there's a second, I'd like to just put in a
Yes.
little pitch for the North Dakota Livestock Alliance annual summit is going to be January 27th at the Delta Motel in Fargo. So it's going to be an awesome day. Materials for all species of animal egg and all crop producers. Come check us out.
You said that's the 27th of January.
27th of January. Yep. And all the details are on our website, ndlivestock.org.
Don't forget to send me a press release because that's my kind of day.
Put that on your calendar.
Yeah, I'd be all right with
Oh,
that.
I love it. That'd be so fun. And a big welcome to our newest governing board of directors. We just got our newest member last week. Welcome to North Dakota Farm Bureau. Welcome to the team.
Nice. That's good to have them.
Good deal. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Amber. And
Yeah, thank you too. Keep in touch.
absolutely. Well, when we come back, we'll have a recap on this windy forecast. Also, could see our first widespread frost of the season, but warmer weather right around the corner. We'll detail the full forecast and more when we come back. And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. And it's a chilly, windy day out there. Temperatures right now in the low to mid 40s across the area. We still have a few sprinkles out there, but we're starting to see a few more breaks of sunshine, especially out to the west of the valley. But other than that, it's just going to be a blustery, raw afternoon with temperatures remaining in the 40s. Eventually, as we head towards evening, those winds will start to calm down a little bit, and that will lead to clearing skies overnight. Should be the coldest night of the season for many as we drop off into the upper 20s to near 30, and winds will be a little bit lighter as well. In fact, we'll be flirting with that freezing mark not only tomorrow morning, but the following morning as well. So, end of the growing season for many, yes, this should pretty much do it. Temperatures tomorrow still chilly, upper 40s, but we'll have much lighter winds tomorrow out of the northwest at about 10 to 15, then more sunshine. Sunny days for Thursday and Friday, looking really nice to end the week. Low to mid 50s on Thursday, and temperatures right around 60 on Friday. The weekend does warm back up into the 60s. Pick day of the weekend is going to be Saturday with more sunshine and windier conditions on Sunday. Saturday, the pick day of the weekend, and then a good chance for a rainy system coming in here as we head into Monday. This rain looks like it's going to blanket most of the state. Not great news, obviously, for harvest, but it looks like a pretty widespread rain across the state on Monday before cooler weather follows as we head into later next week. And this weather is brought to you by Progressive Ag Risk Management.
Okay.
So not great news in terms of the widespread rain across the state on Monday.
On behalf of Don Kinsler, get those mums inside, people.
Yes.
Dash outdoors, bring them in, slip them in the garage. Also, weather-related, all those southerly winds we had this year, that brought us southern rust and tar spot. Thanks a whole bunch.
Really?
Yes.
I'm looking at you like, huh?
Yes. So tar spot in corn. If you are out in a cornfield and you are noticing these little black flecks on the leaves that don't rub off, tar spot, because it sticks like tar. It's a fungal disease, and tar spot will actually be quite a yield robber. It generally comes in to your fields later in the season, so you don't have an opportunity to put a fungicide on. It's there. It's going to be a disease problem. If you were going to do something, you have to think ahead, which they've started to do in states that start in I, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, et cetera, where they're putting preventative fungicides on to protect those leaves. There really isn't much you can do to be a curative as far as a fungicide is concerned.
And you said this comes in from the south.
So it's been in the U.S. for a number of years. We've seen tar spot since, probably about 15 years. South Dakota first had it in 2022. So then when you get those southerly warm winds that blow up here, it brings the spores with. And then they land in their next field and stay. So when they make some progression northward, then they're in the field, like North and South Dakota. Well, then as the wind picked up, they started to blow up into North Dakota, which would explain why we had about 9 counties last year that already confirmed tar spot in the state of North Dakota, and they primarily bordered South Dakota and Minnesota.
Can you spray for that ahead of time? You said
you can do a preventative
if
you anticipate that it's coming. This is where some of those either aerial applications, drones, and especially like I would call them a high boy sprayer, but they're a high clearance sprayer that you would want to use. You know, I've seen some sprayers. The Horsch one comes to mind, that you get a solid 8 feet of clearance underneath that because you've got a hydraulic lift package with the smaller spray tanks, and there's other sprayers that do as well, and you can lift that up to get over the top of the corn. Southern rust, on the other hand, has also been a little bit new, and early on, USDA was chiming in saying we're going to have a record corn crop. It's going to be huge. And I remember going to Illinois at the end of June, end of July. I don't know. I don't think it's there. Well, it's been back down quite often because we have seen more southern rust. So this is also a fungal foliar disease, and it loves hot and humid conditions. So every state that starts in I, right there. And our weather conditions really across the Midwest were about perfect. June was warm, July was warmer, and one of the wettest on record in the north central corn belt. So southern rust really was thriving. How do you know if you are seeing that? Well, with that southern rust, you're going to also see on the top of the leaf that there are red and yellow coloration. Then on the bottom of the leaf, there were some yellow lesions. So it really affects the whole leaf pattern. A concern is with early dry down in your corn, that southern rust packs in with your silage, and there can be mycotoxins in there that if you don't have your optimal moisture content for silage, that southern rust could be drier, could bring in with oxygen the spores, and now you could be losing some of your silage and your grain quality in there too. And if it's a mycotoxin and you feed enough of it, an animal would get sick from that. Usually you're blending out those rations pretty well. They shouldn't necessarily see that problem, but those are things to be aware of that it can happen. So yeah, the weather brought us disease.
Interesting.
One more thing for you to get blamed for.
Right. Yeah, like we don't get blamed for enough.
Sorry, that was
no kidding.
Okay, so yes. In fact, that's when I think about those two, and also crown rot and soybeans, they're somewhat new, right? Not every county, not everywhere has been affected by them, but I think that's part of the reason that we have to start planning ahead and doing more early detection. Like with southern rust, you have an earlier opportunity to put out a protective fungicide. Generally speaking, we don't put fungicide on corn in North Dakota. That's just a general across, if I looked at statewide, but we're probably going to wind up doing more of it to be careful with what's going on in these fields. So we're going to watch that, and part of our discussion of how to identify it, what to know about it, how much yield loss you could face, what are some of the factors and conditions that bring it to mind. Can you get varieties that are less concerning, more of a tolerance in the variety? Well, we're going to talk about that as one of the hours when we do our WDAY radio farm show. We'll do that.
And that is again November 5th?
November 5th, Wednesday.
Right. Should be good.
I'm looking forward to it. This is apparently because I'm not actually a journalist and this is like my first job in radio. When your boss says, "Can you do an 8-hour farm show?" You're like, "Sure," because you're too dumb to say, "Wow, that seems big." So just chalk it up to, once again, I had no idea what I was doing, and here I am.
And there you go. Well, we'll be here to help you. So
very much looking forward to that, as well as having students who are going to join us because they are sponsored by North Dakota Farm Bureau. We're going to have a couple of our past assistant ag directors coming in.
Oh, nice.
They will be fresh off of National FFA convention. Like, they will just be home for 2 days, and then
perfect.
They're going to be here to help us out.
Good deal.
Yeah.
And that's November 5th, so make sure to put that on your calendar. So for Bridgette, myself, we want to thank everybody for joining us here today on Weather and Ag in Focus. Don't go anywhere. Jay Thomas Show, it's coming up next.